It is one of the craziest escape stories you will ever hear. A Moses Lake man facing charges of kidnapping and robbery was supposed to appear before a Grant County judge Monday morning. But before the hearing, he said he was sick, so a deputy was taking him back to the jail.
That's when he ran off. KXLY4's McKay has the wild story.
39-year-old Daryl Smith didn't want to go back to jail.
As they were taking him from the courthouse back over to the jail complex right about here, he broke away from a corrections officer and just took off. After running about 3 blocks through downtown Ephrata, actually across Main Street and across some railroad tracks, he tried to find the first vehicle he could, an old grain truck in that shed.
Wouldn't have been my first choice to escape in.
An old grain truck.
It was cruising right down the road, 60, 65 miles an hour with lights and sirens behind him, not stopping.
Sergeant Ken Jones heard the call, followed the grain truck for 15 miles until it got here.
Left the roadway at full speed, turned that big old truck into a dune buggy. Made several jumps because of the berms that are out here on this rough, and my estimation was 3.5 to maybe 4 feet in the air.
A wild ride for an old grain truck.
You could see it just like Dukes of Hazzard. He went completely vertical and left all 4 tires in the air, so it was crazy.
After completing the series of jumps, the grain truck continued right towards the lake, over the edge of the cliff.
The truck was perched near the top of the hill, and Smith, handcuffs and all, was in the water.
I immediately started yelling at him that it's too far to swim, it's too cold. He needed to come back to the shore. He wasn't going to get anywhere. And he looked back a few times and continued his attempts at the dog paddle.
But before long, Smith, in his handcuffs and jumpsuit, was struggling.
He started yelling for help. I'm drowning. We looked at each other and said, we need to get this guy out of here.
So Jones and another deputy quickly undressed and jumped in to save the drowning escapee.
It was getting slower, and it seemed like it was getting longer for him to come to the surface.
But just in time, Jones grabbed the man and pulled him to shore.
When we got back there, he looked me right in the face and said, "You just saved my life. Thank you."
You can't make this stuff up.
You can't. This is a made-for-TV movie for sure.
After it was all over and they were heading back to jail, Smith turned to one of the deputies and said, "You know, is there any way we can forget this whole escape thing ever happened?" He said no. Smith's now facing about half a dozen new felony charges. Reporting from Moses Lake, McKay, KXLY4 HD News.